Okay.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, we're
I'm
here.
excited. Welcome to my show, My Planets in What?
I love it. I love to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is Michelle Cirillo.
Yes.
We met through a friend of a friend. I've been trying to promote this podcast, and my friend Claire said, "Oh my God, you have to talk to Michelle."
Love Claire.
And so I'm excited to get into it, learn kind of your perspective and attitudes about astrology.
Likewise.
And then we're gonna jump into Kim Kardashian's chart.
I love it. I unfortunately am obsessed with her, so embarrassing.
Perfect. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself as an astrologer and like a little bit of your origin story.
Love. Okay, so, I went to liberal arts college, which means that everybody majors in astrology, kind of. So it became kind of a hobby. I mean, I grew up with hippies as parents, so that language was always around. And then I kind of became obsessed with astrology by the time I was like 18 or 19, and then when everybody got co-star, it became like the talking point. And then somehow it ended up being that, well, you should ask Michelle about your co-star. Michelle has probably already looked at your chart on co-star, etc. And I then realized, okay, so this is just like scratching the surface. You know, co-star was just kind of so surface. And I got really into Carl Jung because I was studying critical theory and philosophy at the time. So psychoanalysis was kind of hand in hand with that. So I got really into Carl Jung and Freud, and really when we're using all of these kind of terms about archetypes, that's all Jungian language, you know, 20th century psychoanalysis. So, you know, if you don't believe in the cosmology of astrology, what I tell people all the time is that really what we're having is a conversation about a psychoanalytic perspective of yourself. I'm holding up a psychoanalytic mirror. You can tell me if it looks like you or not. And I think it kind of opens the door for people and skeptics a little bit when you're like, look, fuck it. If you don't think that the stars are, you know, moving your body, then don't think about that at all. Let's just have a conversation about you and about if you feel like this is a describer of you. So for me, that became a way to kind of broaden the horizon of it and to kind of be more appealing, I think, to just more people. So I started really concertedly studying, I would say, from like 21 to 25, and started taking classes and I'll never stop. I will never stop studying because I always say the best astrologers are 80 years old and have read thousands and thousands of charts. So the more charts you have and the more data points you have, the better astrologer you are. But that's when I like when I was like 21, I started saying like, okay, I want to like study this now. So I really studied and took classes concertedly for those 4 years, and I had a desk job that I was just bored to tears at and that I had nothing to do with. So I was like, okay, then this is what I'm going to do for 8 hours a day. So that's what I did, and started reading all of my coworkers for free.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, as you do. Start reading everybody, and then really kind of just became like Jung is my life now. So those two things are hand in hand, and then I just started reading for people professionally now.
So would you say you're like a psychological astrologer?
I would say that I am a psychoanalytic astrologer.
Okay.
So I would say that, I mean, me personally, I'm extremely spiritual. I believe in God. I believe in the universe as cosmology. Mm-hmm. But when I'm talking about astrology and in a reading with someone, I try to leave that to the side because so many people have so many different feelings and opinions about all that it can be kind of isolating. So rather than that, I'm really talking about the psychoanalytic terms of archetypes and Carl Jung's archetypes throughout.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine on, Judith Robert, and she was a psychoanalyst and then became an astrologer.
Yeah.
And she's like, for her, it's like all about those archetypes.
Yes.
Those she's really interested in the narrative of Pluto and Venus.
Yeah.
And so her way of reading a chart is like telling the stories that she sees in the archetypes. So it's definitely, I mean, she considers herself a psychological astrologer, but I mean, she does come from psychology. Mm-hmm. But I think there is this subset of astrologers that are like all about the archetypes and and I love that, and I think that's really fun. And I also relate with you a lot about not only just reading your friends' charts, but just, and not all astrologers agree with this, but I feel this way, just about how astrology is a opening to a conversation that you wouldn't have otherwise.
So true.
And I like to kind of and I need to hear more about your chart because I don't know anything about your chart.
That's so much.
But for me, I kind of like to jump head first into things, and so sometimes it's off-putting to people, and I've had to learn to be like, keep your mouth shut and don't ask too many questions.
Yes. Oh my God. Heavy on the don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, I'm like very much like, so like, what happened to you as a child?
That's awesome.
But anyway, so today we're going to talk about Kim Kardashian's chart. And you brought this to me too,
Yes,
because she's someone who
I
you're
did.
interested in.
Yeah. I think she's just a great example for people who are interested in astrology because we know everything about her.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s and 2000s, a lot of astrology teachers would use Princess Diana because everybody knew everything
That's
about
true.
Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Not that Kim Kardashian is the Princess Diana of our time. Don't misquote me. But we do know everything about her. So,
That's true.
Yeah, so she's a good chart.
Yeah, people who are in the public eye are obviously the most interesting people to do their charts. Even I love to talk about Beyonce, and I know you like Beyonce
yes,
too.
Two Beyonce girls today.
But it's almost interesting to try to figure out what's going on with her because it is all sort of hidden.
Yeah, she keeps it close to the vest.
Okay, so let's jump a little bit into your chart first. The chart confessions. I want to know
Love that.
like a little bit about your chart. So tell me about like your rising.
Sure. Okay, so I'm a Virgo rising.
Virgo rising.
Which I've had to really accept and come into. I don't super vibe with the archetype of Virgo and that it's extremely detail oriented and it's really about
where's your
attending to
Mercury?
be. My Mercury is in Capricorn.
Okay.
So, and I am extremely direct. Maybe I need to soften the blow a little bit. I'm here to tell you exactly what I need you to know. And then you might tell me that was a little harsh, and I can take that. I can totally take that now. But, I've learned that people do see me as someone who like has it together and has the list and can get things done. And that is the Virgo rising. And I also, a lot of astrologers, think the ascendant or the rising has a lot to do with how you look. And I do know that the stereotypical Virgo rising is dark hair, dark eyes, darker features, a little bit more of like a serious look. And, as whimsical as I try to be.
Well, I also, I was like at the ruler of the first house. So as a Mercury Capricorn person, so you would be, communicative.
Yes.
And then the Capricorn's like, there's a serious side as well.
Yes.
And also you get the Capricorn influence, which is like there tends to be like wavy hair.
Yeah, yes. That's interesting.
And also like, I just met you for the first time. We talked on the phone, but it's the first time I'm seeing
meeting.
you.
Yeah.
And you are like well put together and like the makeup's right, like
Thank
the
you.
hair is right.
I really put it on for you.
Yes. So to me, like it's giving Virgo, but I can already tell by your demeanor, like there's a professional aspect to the way you approach things.
And I do think that it's helpful for me because beneath the surface, like it is truly a vortex of insanity happening. So like the Virgo, as much as I want to diss her, is getting my foot in the door. And that's good,
have a thing for Virgos. My Mercury's in Virgo, so like I love Virgo people. And I get along pretty well with earth signs, honestly.
I have earth signs in general I'm pretty like generally vibing with, but I think for me I'm a sun Aquarius. So I really have a problem with anyone telling me what to do, like an oppositionally defiant, like pathological problem. Like the second somebody's like, you really should look into that. I'm like, you did not just tell me.
You're like, I will
I'm like,
never,
as
I
if I didn't already know all of that already. Like, so
I do
that's
think
the
my
Virgo,
boyfriend's an Aquarius
like,
and there is like a little bit of like know-it-all.
Yeah, no, I have a God complex. And I'm like, look, that's why when the Virgo's like, did you know this answer already? I'm like, the fact that you would insinuate
like,
that I don't
dare
know
you.
everything already is so insulting. So.
Oh my God, it's
Yes.
so funny. Aquariuses are a sign that I didn't understand until I was much older because as a Leo, like I've just been
You're
focused
a Leo.
on myself.
It's sister signs though.
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin.
Totally.
You're the sun, and then I'm here to remind you that everybody's the sun. We're all stars
literally.
in the sky. Like, it's great.
And again, early on with my boyfriend, he was like, well, that's not fair for you. Like, we have to share.
Yes,
it's like
you
it's
have
always
to
like
share the
about
stage.
everybody else.
Yeah.
And early on, I was kind of annoyed by that. Like,
Hello, here the star.
Hello.
You are literally waking up to be the star.
Hello.
I'm gracing you with my presence as the star.
But yeah, good lessons to learn from your opposites for sure.
Definitely. I mean, my closest people in my life are all Leos. Everybody that I'm like really, really tight with. My long-term best friend who we've dated and lived together and are still like genuinely as close as can be is a Leo. My sister's a Leo. My childhood, also another best friend is like, I will never get away from you people. It's a sickness.
You couldn't get away with it.
You know what?
Tried.
It's because you know why? You're not threatened by the fact that I'm like, you think you're the star, but baby, it's all about the Aquarius. I'm in the age of Aquarius for crying out loud.
I feel like, I mean, from a pure Leo point of view, I truly believe that everyone like has their place to shine. And they really do, because everyone has the sun in their chart somewhere.
Yes, and I totally agree, and I think that's why Leo and Aquarius are like such a beautiful like articulation of the way astrology folds in on itself, because it's all opposites, right? And they are always constantly folding in on themselves, and that is what both Leo and Aquarius are striving to do, but from like two totally separate angles. And yeah, I have my sun in my 5th house, which is, the Leonine house.
Oh, that's
so
great.
I'm very much like, I'm, filtering all of those Aquarian qualities through the lens of the Leonine lens. Yeah, I'm an entertainer, I'm a creator, I'm somebody who's kind of childlike in that way. I'm goofy, whatever. I want to play all the time. And I want my playing to be for the greater good and to save the world. So, that's like why I also love Leo. I'm like, I'm kind of a sneak Leo. Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the best kind.
Yeah.
Okay, so what sign do people like guess that you are?
I think it's tough because Aquariuses are the least common sign, so almost no one ever.
What do you mean?
It's the least common. Least amount of people are Aquariuses. Yeah, people aren't born. I think people are just not having sex indoors in the summer, so nobody's born in the winter like that. But it's like the most common. Like it's between Scorpio and Aquarius for U.S. presidents, which I have a scarily similar birth chart to FDR. I know we haven't gotten there yet on birthday matches, but. Birth chart to FDR is similar. But yeah, so nobody ever really guesses Aquarius because I think people don't know as many Aquariuses, so it's never really on their lips. But often people think I'm either a Leo or a Capricorn, and I have a lot of Capricorn placements, or something like, a Taurus or something like that, fixed signs.
I don't know why, but I could get like a Scorpio actually.
I think as an adult now, I've come into realizing like I didn't understand Scorpio, like similar to how you like I didn't understand Aquarius.
Yeah.
I really didn't understand Scorpio, and I think it was because when I was a young person and all the Scorpios around me were very much like in their first like arc of their character development, and then like the second arc is like, oh, but when you figure it out, you are unstoppable.
Oh my God, Scorpios!
I mean, they rule the world. Like truly, it's amazing. And I always say like an unresolved Scorpio is like a plague against society, but like a resolved Scorpio is like truly magnificent to be around. So, I mean, I take that as a compliment if you would clock me as a Scorpio.
Well, I like when I look back on my like the last 15 years of my life, like the true like diehard friends, like loyal friends were Scorpios.
I have like my first Scorpio in my life is like someone that she and I went through like so many trials and tribulations, but she just was like, as long as you stick around, I'm gonna fucking figure this out. And she will be one of my best friends for the rest of my life because I truly watched her in real time figure it out, and I will be in awe of her for the rest of my life.
Aww.
That she's just like, and yeah, so I never really had Scorpios in my life until her, and I'm like, she is the gold standard in my opinion. So. Do
you ever look at Antisha? Do you know what Antisha is?
No.
So it's like. It's if you divide. It's used also a lot in horary astrology, which is a big thing that I do.
Oh, you do.
Yeah,
cool.
I do
horary. I would love to ask questions about that.
And so if you basically turn the wheel to where it's aligned by the solstices and the equinoxes, the Antisha are like the mirror opposite of each sign, aligned by the solstices. So the Antisha of Aquarius is Scorpio. So they have this. So like in a horary predictive reading, if there isn't a major aspect in an obvious place, like you could look to see if there's a Antisha aspect, and so it's like the shadow sign.
Interesting.
So that's the thing is like the shadow of Aquarius is Scorpio. So there's like some intensity under there. There's this desire to kind of get to the bottom of things.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Scorpios are known for being extremely loyal friends, which is kind of like Aquarius is bread and butter.
Yeah. Wow, I have so many, well, maybe we won't get to it here today, but I have so many questions about horary astrology that I would love to pick your brain about, if not today.
Yeah. It's the main, I mean, I do natal, and my main thing is like relationship compatibility.
Oh, cool.
But a lot of times the questions that people come are like, are we gonna stay together?
Yes, predictive, yeah.
Are we gonna break up? Like, are we gonna be together? Like, and that's like 90% of the questions.
Yeah.
And that's just like a natal synastry stuff isn't necessarily going to answer that question.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. Love that.
Yeah, we could talk more about it too.
Definitely.
It's fun. Okay, so what sign do you irrationally hate?
Okay.
I know.
You and I are Beyonce girls, but it is a Virgo.
Oh, okay.
It is a Virgo. Like I just truly am like, what do you mean you want me to follow your rules? I have no. Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. That's not really the answer.
Oh, you're changing your answer?
I'm going to change the answer. Virgos, I'm like, you know what? You have your shit together. You know who I hate? Sagittarius. Specifically, a Sagittarius man, okay? Because they just want to play. They just want to get out here and play.
100%.
And they're totally like, wait, what do you mean I have to like do things and be serious? And I'm like, wow, you are out here just like figuring it out at the expense of everyone else, and everybody else has their shit together except for you, and you're just, you know, dancing through life. So I would say like my Virgo hate is not irrational. I'm very like, you know what, bitch, you and me are not gonna. Sagittarius are having a blast and I'm hating. I'm just hating on it.
Virgos, they can be mean.
Yeah, they can be mean. They can also, I think, be martyrs. You know, they have that thing where it's like, I'm thinking about everybody else's details. Why isn't anyone thinking about me? And it's like, put your own oxygen mask on, babe, okay? We all got to put it on ourselves, okay? So if you have a question and you have a need, speak up.
I love that. I have Mercury in Virgo, and I do that a lot.
Oh, guilty as charged.
What's that?
Or guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all have our thing.
Well, and then, okay, so Sag I can agree. I think the stereotypical Sag is just a player out there having
a blast at the expense of us.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
But they're having a good time, and, you know, like, even though they, you know, the shadow, the antithesis of Sagittarius is Capricorn.
Oh, how funny.
And so the interesting thing is that Sag is like at this deeper level.
Yeah.
They actually know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, it looks chaotic.
Yeah.
And they might very well like never want to like settle down in their life, but at a deep level they know that they've made that decision.
Yeah.
And there's a plan to it.
I mean, I think what I can really appreciate about the archetype of Sagittarius is, you know, its sister sign is Gemini, which is like the I know everything and I want to tell everyone, whereas the Sagittarius is the I know nothing and I want to learn everything.
Yeah.
And there's something so beautiful about that. It's why it gets the rap of being the guru, the philosopher, that it's like, I want to go out into the world and really see it all with fresh eyes, which I'm like, that is really beautiful. Like, that is really what makes the world a better place, is that intentionality and, you know, being kind of egoless and trying to find your place in it. Maybe I'm just jealous that they're having all this fun and I have all this work to do or something.
I have Sag rising and I have my moon in Sagittarius right on the ascendant. And so I feel like in that vein,
on the ascendant.
I do a lot of like mental gymnastics trying to explore the endlessness of my emotions.
Yes! I always call them Britney Spears. You guys are out here being Britney Spears.
What,
She is a Sagittarius queen, and that
totally.
girl she is figuring it out. She is just out here spinning and figuring it out.
Spinning in circles.
Yeah.
And my moon's out of bounds. I don't know if you look at.
I don't, but that is interesting.
Yeah. So it's a wild moon.
Wow.
Okay, what sign? You sort of answered this, but is there a sign like you feel like you just don't understand? You sort of said that already.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand the Sagittarius kind of like need for constant, like, I'm just so goal oriented and like, you know, this is what I want. And I think what I could learn and understand from them is I need to learn more whimsy, you know, keep it a little more whimsical.
Yeah, I mean, there's taking it not taking it so seriously. Yeah. And like, it's never the end.
Yes.
It's never over.
So true. Or even like, that Piscean quality of like having such an ideal for life and the life's not fair thing.
Yeah.
I guess I never really can understand that because I'm constantly like, yeah, life is not fair. Of course it's not fair.
Well, you know, the Virgo and Pisces opposition in your chart.
Yeah,
and
there
that's
you go.
also going to be what your, you know, partner archetype is going to help teach.
And unfortunately, yes, that is already part of my life coming up in so many ways.
Where's your Jupiter?
My Jupiter's in Aquarius. It's at 0 degrees Aquarius in my 5th house, 3 degrees away from my sun.
That's fun.
Oh, it is so fun. I have been rewarded many a time for really leaning into all the creative stuff, which is really cool. But also comes with the whole thing of like, it's all for the end.
Your partner inspires you creatively.
Definitely. Yeah. I with my last partner, I felt like he was like my manager. He was like, you really need to be going to like this show. And I was like, oh, I've never even heard of those.
7th ruler on the 5th house cusp.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I, as an Aquarius, am such a lone wolf that's like the bigger lesson for me. I have my Saturn and Aries actually in my 7th house. And
you're having your Saturn return?
Currently the first taste of it. And I already am like, okay, like I understand for me in this lifetime.
You're just getting a little sneak peek.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be a wild ride. February 2026. I'm like locked in and ready to accept that I cannot live life alone. but I can't do it on my own. And that's really going to be the big lesson for me, is that actually so much good is going to come when I finally let somebody on the team.
Interesting.
Terrible news.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Wow. Okay. Do you have any birthday twins?
Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri. Oh my God, his kid went to my the summer camp I worked at.
Oh, you're kidding!
In Santa Rosa. So
Were they as crazy as he
Well, the
is?
highlights were right. The highlights were good. They were correct.
That's really funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm like, wow. This tells me so much about that.
Yeah, he lives. I think he lives in Santa Rosa. Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I've always been like, wow, that's my birthday twin. But I also have a sun, moon, rising, and a few other things that are similar to FDR, which I love.
What's your
more.
moon?
Cancer.
Oh,
I know, and that's why I'm a mess.
my Venus is in Cancer.
And we're about to go Venus into Cancer next month, so enjoy.
Venus return.
Fun.
Yeah, I always feel good during my Venus return.
Yeah.
I love somebody with some Cancer in their chart.
It's what my best friend, who's a quadruple Cancer and a psychic medium, says to me all the time, is that she's like, this is why I can tolerate
Moon in Cancer
you.
is obviously the best placement for the moon.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely a lot of feelings, but I think with all of this kind of like seriousness that I'm like, get it done, and I like no nonsense. It's what actually makes me like a loving person.
Well, you know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I really feel like it's something I've accepted, that we all are a little bit a mess. And that's like part of life, is that we all have emotions, and that's okay. And I think if I didn't have my Cancer moon placement.
Where is it?
It's in my 11th house.
Oh, that's good for your friendship.
It really is. I mean, I am definitely the mom friend, the therapist friend, So it softens things. I will say, having a sun and moon soft opposition, no walk in the park. Definitely feels like the masculine and feminine integration is constantly like my whole life. I mean, like, I'm wearing this vest. Is this androgynous enough for everyone? Like, I will never know. People have asked me all the time, like, do you want to start going by they, them? And I'm like, it's a lot of work for me. It's fine. But that is like the story of my life with those two oppositions, is like sitting in this kind of really masculine sun position and then this really feminine moon position opposite each other. It definitely it's, and they're both actually, I believe, T-squared with my north node and my Chiron. Or am I thinking right?
Where's your north node?
My north node's in Libra, 1 degree Libra, and my Chiron is in Scorpio.
That's also learning to let people
in.
Yeah.
Hating in my first house. Terrible news.
There you go. Okay, I love to ask people, how gay is astrology on a scale from 1 to 10?
I'm going to say it's both 0 and 10, because it's everything and nothing all the time.
Yes.
So, I mean, it is gay. It's just, it is, yeah, it's...
I love how just a safe space for all different kinds of people.
Yeah, and I think one of the things when I read natal charts that I kind of tread lightly on, depending on my audience, is talking about the fact that, like, actually masculine and feminine energy is present in everyone, and that, like, it's really okay that that's a part of everyone. And especially when I'm reading for men, sometimes there's kind of a sensitivity that I can kind of, tread lightly into, of saying, like, I kind of feel like a big part of your life is accepting that you're a little bit feminine, and that, like, that's okay. And I find it's a really safe space for men to open up to me in that way. They're like, yeah, that is actually something that's come up a lot for me, and, friendships and these things. And it gives an avenue for people to talk about it through the archetypes of just like, yeah, men who are Virgos, that's a hard life for you, babe. You're the divine feminine as a man. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, readings are so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when you go into like therapy or some of these other environments, they're sort of prescribed, like you're gonna maybe talk to a therapist about a topic in your life, and you're gonna break it down and then leave. And like with an astrologer, it's like you're coming in to kind of like open up the doors on your spirit and kind of like see what's inside.
Yeah.
And so I could imagine somebody who's hasn't looked at themselves very closely, that being a really vulnerable experience.
Definitely. And I like to try to softball something and kind of then see if we're comfortable going down that avenue. But what I find is that for a lot of men, it's almost like a relief that I've said it, that there's a language to put to it for them where they're like, yeah, actually, it is really isolating to have like this feeling of not being a stereotypically masculine man. And especially for straight men, it's like so hard for them. But it's a prison. It's a prison. But it's so, I think, I think even for a lot of my friends who are queer, and like I just said, like I have a lot of gender identity kind of contradictions, the masculine and feminine. Like for me, astrology is such a solace and a way to kind of look at that and say like, yeah, that it actually is really present for me. Like I will for my entire life feel pulled in both directions. Like that will be the story for me. And reading for even some of my trans friends where it's like, yeah, actually like there is a really big wound about being feminine and not really wanting to feel feminine, and you should embrace the masculine, and you know, people who have transitioned. And I think that's like what's really cool about astrology too, is that it can explain kind of things that like people are like, wow, that's in my chart. I'm like, yeah, that's in your chart, you know. It's cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, giving people like language for how they're feeling.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and that's why I love the archetypes, because I'm like, it's a little bit separate from you, you know, you can kind of.
It's like one step removed.
Yeah, and you're like, does that feel like, you know, and people get to play with it, you know, yes or no. But yeah, I think it's really liberating for a lot of people, especially a lot of people when I read for them, and I can almost sometimes I'm like, feeling like this is a gay chart, and am I going to mention that or not? And you know, it's awesome.
What's a gay chart?
Well, you know, sometimes a little placement in the 12th house, a little sun here and there. You just sometimes you can tell where you're like, you are maybe going to figure out later that there's a big part of you hidden. And so many older gay people that I know that have, you know, lived their life kind of having to be closeted. A lot of them have a lot of 12th house placements.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about like your relationship to like sort of the divination, mystical side of astrology.
Sure.
How do you see astrology? Do you see it as like something that's sort of predictive? Like it's kind of the chicken or the egg type of thing? Do you think it speaks to like a hologram of the universe and like a slice of that, or do you see it as sort of like an oracle speaking to you? Like, I'm just curious what your relationship is, or do you even think about that at all?
So I will say that I do think about it. I think that with all of my spiritual practices, I try really hard to avoid any kind of deterministic or fatalistic kind of approach, because I think that's where A, spiritual psychosis comes into play for a lot of people, but B, also you forget that you have free will and that you have agencies. So I'm really trepidatious with clients when I talk about stuff like this, because I find people are calling me up like, it's my Saturn return, should I move across the country? I'm like, girl, get a therapist. Like, you know, that is Seriously. Not for Saturn.
Seriously.
But I do think for myself, the way I think about it is like, I really boil it down to like, if astrology is a clock, it tells me what 2 o'clock feels like. Like, you know, okay, like that's gonna be how this time kind of feels in general, and it'll manifest in a lot of ways. And I actually bought a personalized book that was every single day of the year with every single one of my transits, and then every day would journal and try to kind of see if that matched up or how that felt. And then I would look back at, you know, my journaling over those 2 weeks, and I'd reread them and say, okay, so, you know, when Venus was retrograde, was that coming up in my life? How did that feel? And to be honest, it was so interesting, because what I found from it was that you really can't point to specifics often in the moment, and that the bigger themes come so much later in retrospect. And that is actually more therapeutic to me, of being able to look at times in my life and saying, wow, okay, so Venus was in retrograde while I was like going through this, you know, horrible breakup or whatever it is, you know, the transit, and being able to feel less alone in that, and kind of feeling like, maybe that was like just the collective unconscious like vibe, you know, that wasn't me spinning out. It was, you know, that was the moment to do it. I'm glad I did it. It seemed like that's what I should have done it, you know. And
I do think there's something that's really comforting when you are looking for answers.
Yeah.
That there are cycles and pathways.
Yes.
And I do think journaling is like such a great like implementation of astrology.
Yeah.
Like, here's what's going on. Like, how do you feel about that? You know? And you know, maybe the next time this Venus retrograde comes around, you can kind of remember that what you went through during that time.
Totally. And how to kind of, I think journaling specifically is a great way to just ground yourself in the present and to not kind of float away if you're feeling overwhelmed. But, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, I've been waiting for the countdown of my Saturn return for 5 years, and I'm like, what is going to happen?
I remember that feeling. It happens to you.
Yes, I like to think as an Aquarius with a lot of Capricorn placements that I've done the works that the rug isn't going to be pulled out from underneath me per se, but
where is Saturn in your chart? Which
in
house?
the 7th house in Aries.
Oh, relationship stuff.
Yeah, so I've really, really, really been cognizant of that and working on that for the last 3.5 years. So, you know, here's hoping. You know, you think you make a plan, God laughs at you. So I'm like, whatever. But
yeah.
So yeah, I think of it as like a fun thing to think about, especially when it comes to bigger transits, like, you know, Pluto moving into Aquarius. Well, last time Pluto was in Aquarius, politically, we're talking revolution, you know, we're talking uprisings, and what are we feeling right now? Like the same vibe. So that's what I think is like actually mind-blowing about astrology, is when you look at cyclically, you know, historically, how the bigger kind of planetary transits have affected the world, or rather just, you know, what's coincided. That's where I'm like, yeah, I'm tickled. Like, this is so cool. I mean, the pyramids and, you know, the Sphinx was built during like the Leonine age, and banking and money was really made kind of world popular during the Taurus age, like stuff like that, you know. I'm like, it really is all shaken out, kind of.
I need to, so because my head is so always deep in horror, because that's like the main thing I do, like I've gone so many years just like not even thinking about the outer planets. And then I just went to an astrology conference a couple months ago, and it's just sort of what everyone talks about. They're just like Pluto, Uranus, Neptune all day long. And so I'm like, okay, I need to like re-familiarize myself with like the cycles of these planets. But yeah, I love that approach. I do think that is sound. I think it's a Virgo approach, like the practical.
Devastating.
Yes, it's the Virgo approach. The cycles of it all.
Devastating. It's true. You know what? It's fine. I've accepted it. I am a Virgo rising. It's my, you know, cross to bear. But
that is so funny.
Yeah.
I'm taking a course and refreshing, you know, my horary training as well, and there is very much with the teacher I'm following. There's very much of an idea of like you're sitting down, you're meditating, and then you're casting a chart and like having a relationship with an oracle.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, and it is very different, you know, horror, because it is sort of deterministic.
Yes, yeah.
Although it does, you still have free will, and you can do something different.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, you ask a question to the oracle and you get an answer. Yeah. And usually there's context around the answer too. It's like, it's gonna feel like this and it's gonna end like this. And of course, you can still do whatever you want with that, but it's like with any divination tool, you're going to get an answer.
Totally. I mean, my family loves, it started with my uncle. I don't know if you ever heard of the I Ching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like my family, I don't know why, they love the I Ching.
They're just like, they're having dinner. They're like, let's throw the I Ching.
Literally at Christmas, they'll be like, don't, and the thing they always say is don't ask if you don't want to know.
That's the core tenet of divination.
Yeah, and I treat the I Ching, because the I Ching is mean. The I Ching will really, it will tell you what you don't. And the one time I asked the I Ching twice, I got the one hexagram that said you're asking the I Ching twice. Yeah, freaky. I was like, all right, sorry, I'll give up.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The I Ching is intense.
Yeah.
And I am aware of that. We were looking at a horary chart. There is a feeling of being like connected to the horary, and it's like it does feel like that Saturn Chronos. The gears of the clock are like turning, and then you can kind of see through.
Totally. I would love for you to do my chart. I've never had a professional horary chart done.
Horary?
Yeah, never.
Well, you mean like a prediction?
Yeah, like I've never. Yeah,
well, next time you have a question, text me.
I really will.
Okay. So let's do Famous Uranus.
Woohoo!
Kim Kardashian. So I pulled up her chart. I printed it out.
Love it.
Why don't you? So she's a Sun in Libra, Sag rising, Moon in Pisces. But why don't you kind of take me through how you like to talk about her?
Okay. Well, I think, first of all, her Sagittarius rising, I think, is really a beautiful indication of how she has let herself do whatever she's wanted to do and try it all. And honestly, if you've followed along with the Kardashians or Kim Kardashian's story, something she talks about a lot is that she didn't really feel like she was confident about what she wanted to do, other than the fact that she wanted to be famous. But, you know, she's talked about her relationship with Kanye where she was like, I didn't know if my clothes looked good. I didn't know if what I did was cool. And there's something that I think all of the Kardashians do, which is like shamelessly like admit their own ignorance in a way that's frustrating for all of us because we're like, you have all the resources in the world. Why the fuck are you ignorant? But that she has kind of been honest about that she's like, no, I'm just like trying everything. I'm not an expert necessarily. And that kind of Sagittarius kind of rising, carefree, like ability to just be like, I'm going to find my place in the world and try it all. I really see that in her. But what I think is kind of the bigger, more exciting thing about her chart is her sun in Libra, and that this is a person who has made her life about being the stereotype of beauty in our culture. She has it in the third quadrant of her chart. So this is the half of our chart that's relating to the larger world and the public. And that's where it is for her. It's in her, you know, this is her 11th house over here, kind of like just all about the way that she relates to the group is being a Libra and being the stereotype, the height of beauty, of feminine beauty. And then kind of, you know, that's like her superficial kind of attachment to it. We get this, her second half of her life is dedicated to becoming a lawyer and to law and the legal, you know, system. And what if not is Libra as a diplomat and is all about the scales and all about, you know, embracing kind of justice and, you know, a fair jurisdiction. And she has...
And Jupiter, with the, you know, Sag rising in Jupiter, is also very oriented towards justice.
Yeah, and the bigness of justice, a big justice, right? And she's going for, like, systemic prison reformation, which is, like, huge. So I think in that way, I find her to be really interesting because she embodies the Libra archetype in so many facets that it's a great example of an archetype because you can see that it's not just that she's the easy breezy beautiful cover girl, but she also kind of has this second half of her life that it's a totally different manifestation of the archetype. And who expected that? I mean, I didn't. I never thought that would be something she would take up. So yeah, I think that's what always jumps out to me in her chart.
I think Neptune in the first house is interesting. It's almost on the ascendant. So,
yes.
You know, one of my favorite examples is Marilyn Monroe has Neptune conjunct the ascendant. And, you know, Neptune has this mirror-like quality where people can kind of see whoever they want.
Interesting.
So she's playing this role of being a mirror and people kind of project onto her, you know, what they want to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she... has so much attention.
She's mass appeal, yeah.
And then also, an 11th house sun, I see this a lot. Like, if you were to tell everyone in a room to raise their hands and be like, I'm going to pick somebody, the 11th house sun is the person who gets picked.
Who's going to be picked,
because they're like the hand in the crowd.
Yeah,
the sun
totally. Yeah, that 11th. She stands out in the stars.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And
so it's like some of her fame is just like she just got picked.
Yeah, it's so true though. I mean, she was a girl born in Beverly Hills in the right place, had a dad. Like she had all of the things that were just kind of perfect to be picked,
yes,
you know?
Exactly.
The perfect storm. And even like, you know, her ethnicity in a time where whiteness is so still valued, but she's just ethnic enough that she's different, but she still can fit in the box of whiteness when she wants to. I find that really interesting that just the place and time in history that she was born, she is so rewarded for the type of exoticized beauty that she is. You know, she gets to really, exploit herself in times when she wants to be exotic, but then she can shift right back into being a white woman when she wants to too, which at time right now, where obviously we're really kind of obsessed with Black culture, which I mean, historically everyone is all the time, but she was able to kind of seamlessly as a white woman enter into Black culture, appropriate it, wear it, be it, and then just sift herself right out of it.
Which is privilege.
Yeah, which is whiteness, ultimately. Yeah. And this time in when she was born, it's like you said, she was just picked. It's like, it's not really because maybe she is the best or whatever. It's just, she happens to have this kind of quality of ability, to do it.
And she does have Pluto pretty close to the sun.
Yes.
I'll kind of give her that.
Yeah.
Some of these conjunctions aren't super close, but like the sun conjunct Pluto is just going to give you a lot of power.
Yeah.
And then Mercury conjunct Uranus is going to give you a lot of ability to disrupt with your communication. I think potentially where some of her like interest in the law and that Scorpio too.
Totally. It's just that
to
trying to change things and
and she's interested in prison reform, right?
Yep.
So and that's 12th house.
Yes.
And so you have Mercury and you have Mars there in the 12th house. So
which I think is interesting. I always say to people, you know, like pop astrology focuses so much on Mars about like sex and aggression, where I try to kind of also turn people's eye to it's your life force. It's the thing that like the Aries archetype is. It's the soldier on the battlefield. It's literally your survival instinct. It's what's keeping you alive. Like, you know, yes, it's also aggression because it's how you push yourself forward, but it's also a way of like, how are you like fighting your fight every day? Why do you put your feet on the ground every morning? And for her, having it in Sagittarius, again, it's this kind of like, just she is not afraid to be everything. But having it in the 12th house has had to figure out what does that mean for her. You know, she's like, doesn't really know what her version of anything is going to be, and she's had to really discover it. Like, I find it fascinating that she's so open about the fact that she, up until like divorcing Kanye West, was like, I never chose what I wear and I'm a fashion icon. I didn't choose my outfits. Like, that is bananas, you know,
right.
But
That's
she was
Neptune
figuring
too.
It out.
I think very Neptune to play like a muse.
Yeah, definitely. And to be like the dreamy heaven, like girl, you know, that everybody thinks is like heaven on earth, you know, that's what she is. But it's interesting. I think also her North Node being in Leo in the 8th house, so much of that being like, look, you're gonna be the star. Are you gonna do it with any kind of real worth, or is it gonna be a vapid, you know, sleigh ride to hell? And I think she is kind of realizing that you have all this star power. Are you going to do anything good with it? And the prison reform is that. Also, I want to be clear. I think she's crazy. And I'm not like, if I sat down with Kim in a room, the first thing I'd be like, oh my God, Kim, love you, and give your money away. Let's just give all your money away. That would be the first thing I would say to her and be like, so like, when are we giving it away, girl? How do we got to figure it out today? So, you know, anti her in that she is a billionaire in herself, but I find her fascinating as a concept in that we get to kind of see all of these really private inner workings happening where, like, you know, I don't really believe that anyone is inherently evil. And I do think that she has, in the prison reform, has come to a point where it's like, you have everything. Every person, if someone tells me the opposite, I won't believe them. Every person has a desire to make the world a better place. And I do feel that she has come to a realization that she does have quite a bit of power to do that. And prison reform is like, I mean, so many people want to turn away from it because it predominantly affects Black people in America and the poor. And she's like, okay, those are the two people I've exploited the most. And now she's, you know, trying to make a liberation movement out of that. I think it's, you know, it's commendable. So I think her North Node in Leo in that way in the 8th house, I'm like, girl, you are going to be a star, but is it going to be all for nothing? And I think she's kind of trying to maybe let her legacy not just be completely vapid.
Yeah.
It might still be. But.
I love it. I'm sold.
Sold.
Good reading.
Kim, if you see this, give your money away. I love you. No, but give your money away.
What do you think about her moon in Pisces, though?
I do think that she is a dreamer, and I do think that she really believes that her dreams are going to be a reality, and for by and large they have become. So it's really kind of fueled in that way. But if you watch, you know, Keeping with the Kardashians, you really see that Kim is the crybaby of the family always, and is constantly like, everyone's like, Kim, like, get over it. Like, you know, why are you crying about? There's people that are dying, Kim, you know, like that kind of thing. But it is that Piscean thing of like, I can see how everything could be just right and so perfect, and when it isn't, it is a shock to this kind of immaterial heaven kind of, you know, heavenly quality kind of a person, to then be shocked back into the material and the physical. What do? You cry. Of course you're gonna cry. It's, you know,
the reality.
The reality is tough, and she's got that in her 3rd house, which is a person, I would say, who is more ruled by their emotional world than their logic and thinking world. When you've got your moon in 3rd house, I mean, to have a 3rd house mostly ruled by Pisces in general, I'm like, you are really thinking about emotions, girl. You're thinking about how you wish the world was the best version of itself and how you're so sad that it isn't. And that, you know, in itself, I think if you kind of have watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians growing up, watching her and her younger self, like, you really get that from her a lot, that she's this kind of person who really believes that it could all be perfect and that she's so let down when it isn't. But I also think it's interesting her third house starts in Aquarius, which is indicative of a person who's like looking at the bigger picture and looking at the greater good and trying to think about systems and how things can be better for everyone. And, you know, I do think in her sibling unit, as third house also rules over siblings, that she does that for them. Like, whether they like it or not, they all have everything because of Kim. She has been able to do that for all of them and kind of say, how can I make this the greatest situation for all of us in the group? And you know what? They all give her shit for being a crybaby, but she really has the vision and really sees her heart and her emotions and the things that she knows could be possible. And, you know, yeah, she cries about it when it doesn't happen, but she does listen to her heart and she does make it happen.
That's funny. Yeah, I've seen the show, not a ton, but enough to know, like, I don't know which season. There's so many different variations.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, she is always crying about something.
Yeah, she really is.
But that she's like, there's a reason she's the main character.
Yeah.
You know, like Chloe is so grounded and so
reserved.
And so like also the only like one that's not insane.
Yeah, and the one who actually like really does actually care for everybody.
She does seem to care, and she's kind of like as normal as you could possibly be in that family.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have Courtney who, like, is totally on a different planet.
Oh, my God. That one is so bizarre.
It's so bizarre.
I know
she's
so strange.
an Aries.
Yes, she is.
But
I haven't looked at her chart, and I almost don't even want to. Her energy is so bizarre. And, like, truly, like, it feels almost like, you know how, like, Aries is, like, the baby of the signs? And, like, in a lot of ways, you really are a child. Like, not in the way that Kim is kind of a crybaby, in this different way. I'm like, why do you think that, like, you get to be a kid forever? Like, something about her is that.
Very Aries.
Yeah,
oh
yeah. And, yeah, so stay away from Courtney.
We will.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with Kim's chart?
I think, to me, the most also fascinating thing is that she's got the Venus in Virgo, and that she's someone who really, really wants, like, love to kind of be this perfect box checking thing. And Kanye really was all of that for her. And so I'm really interested.
And she has Gemini on the 7th house cusp.
Yes.
He's a Gemini,
yes,
so he lit up her 7th
oh,
house.
yes. And he really did slingshot her into being somebody that is, you know, the face of Balenciaga and is in the runway shows and all those things. Like, and she knows that and talks about that openly, that, like, without him, that would not have happened for her. So I do think that's interesting that she saw that. And what I'm interested in what is she going to do next? Because she always says, she's like, I'm a Libra. I love love. I love to be loved. Like, of course I'm not going to be single forever. And so I'm, you know, now she's kind of learned her lessons about the kind of powerhouse of a Kanye West. I think she was not ready to take up as much space in a relationship at that time because she wasn't so confident about herself. She was ready to be kind of told how to live and how to do the thing that Kanye kind of molded her into. But now she really knows what she's about. And I wonder what kind of Virgo boxes she's going to need to be checked for the next partner, you know? And it's going to be public. It's, you know, top of the chart. I imagine that, you know, she'll have a hard time keeping any kind of love affair private. But I think, like, seeing her with someone with Pete Davidson was interesting because that doesn't check those kind of Virgo boxes. And I never really...
Also, her 7th house ruler is on the 12th house cusp.
Yes.
So it could, she won't because she's a reality star, but if that does...
she has a...
Could be.
Yeah,
it could be
I
more
think she does have a desire to do
keep
it.
Concealed.
I don't know if she will be able to.
And then also, again, conjunct Uranus is like,
yeah,
she's interested in somebody who's totally, like,
she's just
nuts.
world-changing and, going to turn it upside down.
And that's what he is.
Yeah, 100%.
Very disruptive, very insane, but...
Yeah.
Very disruptive.
And I mean, I think that's what maybe she got out of somebody like a Pete Davidson, who was like, you know, kind of the bad boy of, like, entertainment comedy stuff. But even when watching him, I was like, he is not going to cut it, girl, because you really need somebody who can be a mogul with you.
Yeah.
And that is where I'm like, that Venus Virgo, she will, you know, devote herself to someone. But I'm like, who's going to devote themselves to you next? I'm interested to see her take up a little more space in a relationship and, you know, what that does for her.
Interesting.
Scary. We'll
Love
see.
it.
Yeah, so Kim.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
That was such a good suggestion because, as I mentioned, I spent a lot of time during my Famous Uranus segment just talking about Beyonce. And I'm actually going to see her again.
You are?
In a week.
In a week? Where?
So I went to her first show at SoFi. And now
jealous.
I'm going to her closing show in Vegas with my best friend,
That's gonna
another
be
Scorpio.
so much fun. I really loved her.
Did you see her almost fall off the
Yes,
car?
I literally was like, someone is going to be arrested tonight. I was like, if she gets hurt. And when she came down, she was playing it cool, but I was like, you are afraid, and it is scary. We're in the air, girl. You love to fly.
Did you see what they replaced it with?
That animatronic horse. I was like, this is way
live.
cooler.
Yes,
I like it.
way better.
I mean, I liked the Cadillac. I really did. I liked the whole 16 carriage thing.
It was kind of corny. It looked kind of like a toy.
Yeah, it looked like a toy. But now I'm like, you're on that. Because I love the Renaissance horse at the end. And she's like, thank you for coming to the Renaissance. I'm like crying and crying. Yeah, literally. So I'm like, bring back the horse imagery. So yeah, I love that.
Do you want to do show and tell? Did you happen to bring anything?
I did. It's around my neck. It's my rosary because I am I'm Catholic.
You are.
I would say I'm culturally Catholic, but I was raised Catholic, and I always joke that Catholics are the original magicians of the West. Because Catholics love ritual and fanfare and pomp and circumstance and the altar of it all that you don't get in the kind of like Protestant, Lutheran, Episcopalian kind of Christianity.
It is a little witchy now that you...
Yeah, it's like, why are we saving all these body parts of saints? And like, why do I have this tooth that we're like, this is the saint of the person, this is a tooth of the saint. So I do love Catholicism for that, because when I got back into mysticism and spirituality, I was kind of learning about all different rituals, and I was like really learning the true creed of ritual, which is that know your ritual, right? You should know everything about the deity you're praying to, the ritual you're doing, because if you don't, you're gonna get yourself into something that, you don't know what you're worshiping. So I realized I could spend the next 20 years learning about the Hermetic, Order of the Golden Dawn, and, these kinds of like famous occultists like Aleister Crowley, and, these kind of really cool, like the Rosicrucians, like people that like are famous Western magicians and their rituals to like, do some really crazy shit. I was like, that is going to take me a lifetime to really learn how to do, to authentically learn. But I actually already know all the prayers of the Rosary, and was like, that's a meditation. And instead of meditating on the miracles of Jesus, which is what you're supposed to do, I started choosing my own miracles that I thought were really reminiscent of like what I think really proves to me that God is happening today. And I started putting people on my list that I would meditate on. And so that became my version, my avenue. So now when I want to cast a spell, I will do it with the Rosary. And I'm making rosary beads now that I'm going to hopefully be able to put out this year, along with an essay that I've written about why every generation prays the rosary less and less, and how we can integrate it into, our generation's spiritual practice. Because I find it just so funny that our generation is so hyper aware of cultural appropriation, but then when it comes to mysticism, that kind of like goes out the window, and like nobody wants to touch Christianity with a 10-foot pole, and is like, anything but Jesus, anything but Christianity. Like, we're doing all these rituals that are Eastern or, whatever, but it seems to we're not worrying about that. That's maybe culturally appropriative. And I think right now we're seeing the right wing really sink their claws into like words like God. And our generation is so afraid to use that kind of a word to be, make a connotation to the right wing and all that kind of horribleness. But we cannot let the Christo-fascists take God from us. So I am really on a mission to reclaim that word and, not be so ashamed. Like, I talk to people our age all the time, and I'll be like, yeah, I believe in God. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, Michelle, you do not, like, you don't mean like you believe in the universe. And I'm like, see, you actually are using those two words interchangeably, but you're really afraid to use the God word. And you mean the same thing. So for me, I've really kind of embraced the fact that I think for all magicians, if our creed is really know your ritual and don't do something you don't know and you don't have a tie to, then those of us that were raised Christian should look at the rituals that we have and kind of see how we can integrate them into the practice that we feel is kind of more applicable to us today. So as a Catholic, my ritual is the Rosary. And that's my show and tell, is that I have my rosary on my neck. I wear it pretty much every day, and I say the rosary almost every night. And yeah, that's my show and tell.
That's amazing. I'm like, you seem so passionate about this, and you kind of inspired me to do a little bit of thinking, because I was raised Catholic. And I mean, I felt very oppressed by the church.
Me too.
And so it was pretty easy for me to walk away, even though I did my confirmation and all that stuff.
I did it all too, but then I was like, I'm an atheist, and I just ditched it.
Well, I jumped ship, yes, and then I studied Buddhism for 5 years, and I like aligned myself very much with those ideas much more. They're a little bit more universal in some ways.
Totally, yeah.
But then, I experienced sort of corruption in that space too, and I'm just like, everybody's corrupt.
Absolutely. I mean, you become disillusioned.
Yeah, I'm
humans
like
are
totally
humans.
disillusioned.
Totally.
And so I'm coming back to this moment of like, I know the basics of Catholicism.
Yeah.
I know more than the basics of Buddhism. And I'm like, you can't just piecemeal it. You have to do something.
Yeah.
And so like, if I recommit myself to a religion, it's probably going to be Buddhism and not Catholicism. But as a kid, I remember like, I was so into it, like praying to the angels.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, I had my like holy water in a little like
Me
jar.
too.
And I would like do my like rosary and all that kind of stuff. And I was so into it. And it was actually kind of like, it was magical.
Yeah, I mean, my siblings would make fun of me because I was an altar girl. Like, I've truly, and I in my essay I talk about this, like, I was called. Like, I had that calling. My friends joke that I should have been a nun because I'm like, I have the call. Like, I have that calling 100%. But as I got older, became more radicalized politically, I was like, this is garbage. This is a man worship religion. I'm out of this. I don't want to be a part of this. I was so over it. But I still had this kind of call to spirituality that was kind of hollow because I didn't have this root that I once had. And what actually brought me back in was Pope Francis, because he stood for everything that I wanted the church to stand for, and was all about trying to kind of bring people in and to modernize the church and to not kind of be so damning. And he has this quote, gives me chills every time. He says, and I'm translating from Italian, but he says, this is not dogma, because, technically what the Pope says is dogma. Anything the Pope says is supposed to be straight from God. But he says, this is not dogma, what I'm about to say. But I would like to believe that the God I believe in has a hell that's empty. Do you know how radical that is? I could cry. It brings tears to my eyes. Because to think that, oh my God, this is so embarrassing that I might cry. But to think that he really believed that nobody deserves to go to hell, is so revolutionary for Christianity in general. And it was just so inspiring to me as a person that was like, he really lived by the creed of forgiveness, that everyone deserves forgiveness. And I just think that is something that our generation has not yet accepted as something that we need to kind of understand, especially with cancel culture, that like actually nobody deserves to get thrown away and that everybody deserves forgiveness. And you might not be the person that's doing the forgiving, but they still deserve forgiveness as a tenet of just basic existence. So yeah, Pope Francis really kind of brought those tenets back to the forefront of the church. And, like a child once asked him in front of a crowd of people, my dad just died and he's crying, this little kid, he can't even get the words out. And so he's at a microphone and Pope Francis says, just come sit on my lap and tell me. And then the kid tells him in his ear and the kid sits down and then Pope Francis says, okay, this is what he told me, that his father's just died and he was not Catholic. He was raised Catholic, but he renounced the church. He got us all baptized, but he's now died and he's really worried that his father is in hell. Now, by Catholic canon, he's in hell. That's the facts. That's what the Bible would say. But Pope Francis said, no. God is a father, and he wants his children to be good parents. And your dad baptized all of his children and brought them all to church. Even though he had his own wrestle with God, he still gave you the opportunity to be with God. No, I don't think a father would punish a father like that. He's not in hell. That's crazy. That's crazy that the Pope would say that in front of everyone, to go against that. So I think there's a lot of things about Catholicism. Like everybody was asking me, they're like, what about the next Pope? I'm like, look, it's the Catholic Church. It's going to suck. Like, so I'm sure there's going to be a fault here, whoever they pick. But I think that Pope Francis was revolutionary in that he kind of modeled this take what feels good and leave the rest and mentality, and feeling like he was like, no, why can't we bless, gay marriages? It's like, I can't change the Bible, so I cannot actually give you the confirmation of the tenet of marriage, but I can bless you. Why wouldn't I bless you? Everybody deserves a blessing from God. So, is it ever going to be perfect? No, it's this book that was written 2,000 years ago. Like, there's some stuff that's not going to change, and he's like, I can't even change it. I don't have the power to change it. That's just the nature of what that is. But I think for young people who feel spiritually misguided or are kind of clinging to things that feel like empty for them, or they're like, worrying about if they should burn sage or not burn sage, or these kinds of things, like, if there are roots like Catholicism that have rituals that, like you said, when you were a little kid, you had your bottle of holy water and you did your genuflect and you fucking were, like, maybe there are places in that, parts of that religion that can feel good for you. Like, famously, the difference between, like, a Protestant and a Catholic is, like, Protestants really believe in the power of prayer, and Catholics really believe that it's the power of prayer and acts of service. That, to me, again, is like another reason why I'm really drawn to Catholicism, because they're like, you don't just pray for the poor, you feed them.
Yeah.
And that kind of act of, like...
Which is a huge conflict to the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
Because they're not helping
They're not helping people, exactly. And they're all evangelical, kind of Protestant, whatever. No shade to Protestants, guys, love you. But, that's why I really, truly have been called to Catholicism again. And because of, again, like I said, that tenet of forgiveness that's, like, so much about that. And just in general about charity. Like, I grew up with my church talking so much about why you should never hoard wealth. That was such a big part of my church growing up, and being told that a rich man gets into heaven no sooner than a camel gets through an eye of a needle. That was the theme, was that, no, you give your money away. So I'm taking what I love from Catholicism and blending it into the kind of mysticism and spirituality of, the Jungian psychology, the astrology of it all. But,
I'm so inspired.
I propagandized you. Sorry, everyone. But yeah.
I'm so inspired. I mean, I have a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, cosmic forecast to sort of start to close us out. What do you think it's like a good time for right now, and what things would you kind of... I know Mercury's about to go retrograde. Saturn just turned retrograde. Venus is still in Gemini, but we're going to move towards... Cancer.
Soon. Well, I would say, to keep it short and sweet, we're in the summertime. We're moving into Venus in Cancer, and then in August we're going to get into Mars in Libra. Keep it easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Get a little messy. Go on a date, keep it light. But I think, like, just letting yourself slide through the summer, being a little bit of a flirt who's feeling romantic, it's a great time for that.
I love Venus and Gemini. It's
me too. It's
fun,
so
flirty,
flirty, fun.
It hits my Jupiter, my Gemini Jupiter, and I'm just like...
Yeah, it's the most fun. Yeah, I love a flirty little Venus-Jupiter moment. Absolutely.
So where can people find you?
Love. Okay, so I have a website. It's fifthhouseastro.com, 5thhouseastro.com, as I love the fifth house. And I offer all different types of natal chart readings and also tarot readings. And because you all watch this podcast, you can write in your note that you came from, the podcast, and I will give you a discount on any reading.
There you go.
So,
tell them you saw her on My Planets in What?
Yes, I love that. Say that. You're from My Planets in What, and I will say, oh my God, Danny sent you. And I'll give you a discount based on whatever reading you're going to get. We have pre-recorded readings or live readings where it's, if you've never gotten a natal chart reading before, I do a 2-hour session where I read your chart, and then you have a Q&A afterwards. Or you can get something written if you prefer to have a written reading, or we can just do a tarot reading if that's interesting. But yeah, fifthhouseastro.com.
Fifthhouseastro.com. And what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Mish, which is a little confusing. It's M-I-C-H, M-E-E-S-H,
Okay. I'll put the link in the caption as well. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this was so fun. You have such good energy.
Thanks.
You just came, I just opened the door and you're like, hello.
I'm coming in. This is my favorite topic, so thanks for having me on, because I love to chat about it.
And I'm sure we'll, chat again. We're going to go see, who are we seeing?
We're seeing the format. The Millennial Desert emo pop,
Yes.
circus music. I can't wait.
It really is going to take me back to college. I don't know if you feel the same way about it.
It's for me high school, yeah. I'm just like, I cannot, my sister maybe is flying in for this. Like,
She
we're
is?
so excited. I told my dad, guess who I'm seeing? And he said, are you going to see Nate? Like, we're friends or something. Like the family knows Nate.
Oh my
like,
God,
but that's how he
knows
feels
the
about
singer?
it.
Or like
because
the name, first
my
name?
first concert was the format and fun, and he took us to all of them. So
Oh my God,
he
we're
like
gonna have
knows
so
them.
much
No, it's
fun.
gonna be a blast. It's gonna be
Okay.
so fun.
Thank you so much again. Bye, guys.
Bye.